Alrighty, welcome back. We're going to spray Jolene's frame. Zach's in the house. Zach is sanding parts to Elvis. We're going forward on both cars. As he's sanding pieces for the car, for Elvis, I'm doing Jolene's chassis. Me and Jolene stayed out late last night, and we filled the other side. We had it filled, but we had to sand it all. A lot of hard work in the back there. A lot of fingers jabbing. Hurt my thumb a few times. But that's the way it goes. It takes a lot of work. It's not perfect yet by no means, but we're going to throw some primer on it to find out what it is. I'm not going to worry about priming the underneath of it for right now. We're going to prime the top, and basically what we'll do is we'll prime the top. We'll let it sit for today, and then we'll pull it out and do all the pinholes with filler. We'll do all the pinholes, and then we'll sand it down with a 220 or whatever it takes to get it down. We might also just actually turn it over and flip and do the other side and then bring it back in and prime the other side tomorrow. There's a bunch of other stuff that needs to be primed. The doors are covered up. Jolene's doors are covered up there. We have some pieces that Zach has sanded for Elvis. You never know, we might even throw some paint on when we throw some black paint on the chassis. We'll see what happens. But right this second, I'm just going to clean the gun out a little bit. This is just thinner sitting in the gun. Little thing on the side is what your pattern is. This thing right there like that, it goes back and forth. The bigger the turn, you can see that right there. You're going to turn it like that, makes the bigger pattern. Down there is a smaller pattern. So I turn it forward, I get a bigger pattern. I turn it back, I get a smaller pattern. This is for your product, how much product you want. Alrighty, let's go put some thinner in it. Or primer, sorry. Excuse me, primer. Come take a look at this stuff that Zach is sanding. Show him the stuff you're sanding there, Zach. See something like this? It's very, Zach did a good job on this. Something like this, it's got all these edges on there, like that. You want to sand something like that and leave all the hard crisp lines alone and get the hard crisp lines in the end. It's very hard to sand something like that and not take all the primer off it and get it off the crispy end, or off the crispy ends, off the sharp edges. And that's what we're managed to do. We sand everything around it and then do the sharp edges last. Did a good job on them, looked good. She's just going to pile them over there with the other stuff. And then I'm going to get Zach to peel down the LS engine. We're going to take the wiring harness off. We've got it figured out. We're going to buy a wiring harness for it. I think it's $350 or something like that, which I will buy the wiring harness for it because of the reason I do not want to chop this one up and make something of it. I know it's possible. I really do. I know it's possible. But I just don't want to chop it up and have a chopped up wiring harness. I'd rather have something that is, I don't know, something that looks good and does the job, and I'm willing to pay the money for that, I guess. I've decided that in my brain. I'm cheap, but when it comes to that part, I don't want something that's been cut and spliced and diced and all that sort of stuff. What I've got here is I've got a half a gallon of primer, and I'm saying I'm going to dump a half a gallon of primer on it because I'm going to mix it all up. I got 2 of these things. This primer takes 4 of these, and I'm going to mix it up right now. Let's put that back on there. And basically what we're doing is we're going to put some product on so we can tell what we got going on. That's good enough, Zach, I would say. Bye. Yes. Don't pick at him too long. Yeah, well, sometimes that puts you behind, getting finicky. All right. We got one. Just lay him on the trunk nice and soft there, please. It'd be great. Sounds soft to me. Just 2 of those. And we'll just stir it up. It was shook. We shook the primer in the shaker first. You always should shake everything, stir everything before you use it. You really should. Well, yes, you should. Basically, you should. them glasses over there so I get them all whatever. And we're just going to throw some primer on the old chassis. Me and Jolene stayed out late last night and got it done. What do you think, Zach? You think you'll know what? Zach's going to tear down the engine. He's going to unplug everything, take the wiring harness off at first, I guess. Lay it out, and he's going to try to peel it down and see what he's got. Just pull it right off the engine if you can, and I think it's unplugged that way. Just pull it all down, then you'll see what you got to take off, I guess.
My first time doing something.
Oh yeah. First time's most exciting, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Nerve-wracking too.
Yeah. Now it don't look so bad, does it? Oh, I see. There's something there. We could take that off first, obviously, to get that through. You'll have to unbolt that. Yeah. Shouldn't play with engine stuff while you're priming things. I'm just going to stir this up. We're going to get to see what Jolene's chassis looks like. And it's the only way to get a really nice chassis is to fill it out. That's the only way I know of to getting a real nice chassis, to make it look nice and smooth. Even a fairly nice chassis really doesn't accept paint that nice. It's rough. Mask will do. Any mask will do. Oh, it's a little cleaner. Are you ready, sweetheart? Are you ready? You should always spray it before you spray right on the. Let's check it out. I'll get that after. Put bolts in our bowl holes. You can see we put a little filler, rubbed a little filler on there, rubbed a little filler on there. It's not strength, it's for to make it look smooth. A little filler on the edge of the weld there, a little filler on there to make it look nice. Watch how nice it looks when I prime it. Beautiful. Man, there's some job welding that chassis out. Can't even see the welds. That's how you do it. Come up and take a look at that. It looks good, eh? gonna go around the other side. One thing I'll say right now, I can guarantee you that we'll be painting the chassis twice. Just because you miss things when you paint a chassis, you really do. I will probably paint it on the top and then I'll paint it on the bottom. There'll be two different paint jobs going on that chassis. And the reason being is because you guarantee you always miss things. There's so many things to be painted on a chassis that you miss. And from experience, I know that I will paint it twice. I will paint it twice. I'm gonna get inside the sucker. Nope. Trying to get inside the mounts. Hard spot to get. How low can you go? Pretty low. Pretty low. Do it again. Not much metric in the house, is there? Not much metric in the house. There should be metric sockets in there. And
Wrenches.
wrenches.
I want to get the bracket off that's holding the battery going down.
Yeah. Makes it a little easier for me to get over. And I want to spray the things that need the most work, you know, like this square tubing don't need a whole lot of work. That stuff there don't need a whole lot of work. I want to spray the stuff that needs all the work. Quite a bit of work up in there. Let's do another one. Looks good, eh? I think it looks good. Got some welding to do on that. Got to body fill those. So we'll have another coat for the inside. And that basically will be it for the chassis of primer. We're going to put a half gallon on it. It's something to start with. Not going to see this, but it's going to look some nice. Put some bolts in where we didn't want to get the threads all covered. And this makes sense. To me it does. Run one down the side. Where we're going to see it. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, I say, you are, Joey. Gorgeous you are. All right. One more time. Now this chassis has been primed on the top. We're going to have to do that trick where we go around with a little bit of filler and touch all the pinholes before we guide coat it, because we'll guide coat the chassis. We will. And the only reason we'll guide coat it so it shows where we're sanded and where we haven't, like we always do. We'll let it a little bit of thinner to keep in the gun. Just so the gun stays clean and we can use it. Alrighty. Now on some of this stuff we filled out to the edges of all the mounts. We filled it all the way along. But on the shock tower and a few places we did not do any fill work on that. We just left the weld that was there, and on the rack and pinion there's some welding going there. But there's a little trick that I'm going to do. When we go over this and sand this and make it the best we can, before we prime it again, now that we have primer on it, before we prime it again, any welding that's been done, like that welding there, that welding there, and that welding there has been done that we did not fill out or grind off or anything, I will take a little seam sealer, I told you before. I will take a little seam sealer and throw it over top of that weld just to make it look nicer. We'll do all around each one of those. We'll do any piece of weld on it that doesn't, you know, that doesn't look the best, or it's a little bit bulky. We'll seam seal it. It'll fill in the cracks and the crevices and make it look that much better. But basically, that's what's going on for the top of the chassis. We will let this, we can take tomorrow, we can take it out and hit every little pinhole with a little tiny bit of filler. Yes, we can. And then we can sand it off. Then we'll flip it. We'll do the bottom of it, and then we will prime it again. So that this is not the last time that it's getting primed. We just want to see what it is. It looks nice. It looks nice. Looks pretty good. But what has to happen is, in order for this to look shiny and have a sheen, it's got to be sanded and smoothed up as nice as it can. You know, it's just like the top of a car. You cannot expect the chassis to shine like a car if it's not as smooth as the car. That's the end of it. And that's basically what we're going to do. We're not going to make it a 1,000 pointer or anything, but we're going to make it look nice. And that's the name of the game. You can see how the front end, like how we've ground this, I ground this off, and you can see that just in the primer, how nice that looks with just a little bit of filler over top of what's being ground. Just that too. You can see how nice it looks. When that's painted, and I tell people that I made it, they'll say, wow, you're some good. Well, I showed you the process. I welded it up. It does not matter that the welding is a little bulky. Once you grind it down a little bit, if you're leaving enough metal to, you know, weld it right, you know, I'm not butt welding it and then grinding all the weld off, and also I've welded on the inside. But where I've grounded it, I put some more weld on than I need. I ground it off to what it looked like, and I just took a finger and skimmed it with filler. Now, if I tell you I made all that, you're going to say, wow, he's some good, but it took a process, and every bit of the process did not look good. Like, some of it didn't look good. It looked like poop. But when you're finished, that's when it comes around, you know. That's when you get to grind it and make it look right. Some of this stuff I see, there's some pinholes in the weld that's going on there. We didn't fill that. I didn't see it necessary, but I will take a little seam seal that, and the little pinholes will be gone. Any place that was welded that doesn't look nice, we will seam seal it, and you will see what happens. We'll be able to smooth it right off. We're not leaving a bunch on. We're just going to give it a skim coat of seam sealer and be done with it. But now it's primed, it'll accept seam sealer. I'm happy. You would never think the shape of that chassis, that's a 30s chassis. That's 80. That's printer 90 years old. I mean, you would never think that chassis was 90 years old. All the pieces that we welded on is new, yes, but that chassis is 90 years old and sat outdoors probably most of its life. And now we are making something out of it with a little bit of labor. And Jolene should be proud of it because she helped do it. She helped sand last night. Zach was lucky enough to sand other pieces, and we got to sand the chassis. But that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to get it done. And now I got to carry on all this stuff. Like, we got some welding going on the motor mounts. We can grind it off a little bit, put a little bit of fill on it. All this stuff here where the transmission mount, we'll probably just seam seal that where that's welded. That's nice and clean. That can be primed the way it is, and we'll seam seal the welds on that. On this over here, we'll do the exact same thing. We'll grind it down the best we can. If it doesn't look, you know, good or good as we want it to look, we will seam seal it again. The radiator's been finished up. I finished welding that. That's going on. But that's basically going to have to be cleaned up and dealt with. You know, it's a mess right now. Yes, it is, but it's going to work for the car that we have, and that's what we're doing. We're just carrying on just like that. The pieces on the front end here, we got to separate the top control arm and the lower control arm. We're going to have to get some grinding going on to make them look nice. And then we might take a finger, we'll put a little tape around the edge, put a little fill on it with your finger, or maybe even just seam sealer, I'm not sure. We'll make that look the best it can, and they will get primer and be sanded. Watch yourself, sweetheart. There. How you making out? That's just a plug-in, eh?
Yeah, I think it's being stuck in. Tab inside.
That plastic, okay, you still get one, need a light? Well, ooh, that'd be sweet, he says. Light up my life. No problem. Look on the front side. That's what goes on there. Can you see in that thing? We're going to get this thing stripped down and get ready. There's a bunch of pieces. I want to detail the engine, so we want to strip this down. Dane is the guy's name that's going to help on this. He's helping me. We got new wiring harness coming for it. We looked up a set of new headers for it. $105. Is that what it was? $105, $120 for a set of new headers? Wow, that's cheap. I know I'm cheap, but that's cheap. But basically, that's what's going on. We got the chassis primed. Hey, got her. I wonder. We're not going to use it, so whoever would use that wiring harness would know where everything went. I'm just wondering if we shouldn't have taped and said where everything is going, but that's here nor there. Let's see, to me, that's too much. Too much. But then again, I guess when you start tearing it apart, somebody else might want that wiring harness. Nothing's ripped off or broke, is there? Nope. Perfect. We want our starter, but we'll have to get a wrench to take that off, obviously. Okay. We use Crown fluid film. We got some fluid film. We'll take off the motor mounts. We'll take off the front end. We'll take off the power with the air conditioner. We'll get all that stuff off.
Just strip right down the block.
I guess so. And we'll go with this front end stuff first, and just go easy. I want to get in on it a little bit. I've never played with one before, and it's my first time. I'm a virgin to an LS. Okay, cool. Let's start trying to take off this front end stuff, and we're trying to figure out how it does come off. Maybe go with the power steering or the air conditioner and the power steering pump. And I'm not sure if that whole aluminum front end comes off or not, but just look at it and check it out a little bit. Oh, we won't want to break that now, will I, Chetty? Don't step on that now. Don't be like that. I was always the kind of guy when I wanted something, I just go in and cut it. You shouldn't do that. It's something that you learn after a while. And basically, that's more of a mechanic thing than a body man. I've always been a body man, or trying to be a body man. But I have to do both games, to go forward in this, to build a car. Basically, I have to know a little bit about each. I know a little bit about the mechanics. I can put them all together and put them in the car and obviously build things. But I'm not a troubleshooter. I just don't take my brain there for the time. I don't take my brain there. But I can. I know I can. It just takes to put your brain there. I generally just keep busy with what I'm doing on this sort of stuff, and it doesn't allow me to put my brain there. But it does look good, I think. It's going to look good. And Jolie's going to have to decide what color she wants her chassis. It can be many colors. It could be body color of the car. It could be, the black is nice. I think the black or the body color would be the color to do it. And she hasn't said the body color yet, so who knows? The underneath of the car will be a satin black, because we're doing it in rocker guard. We're doing it in rocker guard. I like it. It's easy to put on. It's reasonably priced, and I like that it blacks everything out. It takes it to a satin color, and it gives it a texture. I don't want to get in there and start painting the rocker guard or putting something on that is hard or anything like that. I want a soft texture underneath the car, and the rocker guard is pleasing to me because it's pleasing to me. If you have to, you can grind it off and do something to it. If you do anything that's hard shelled underneath there, I'm just scared of it chipping somewhere and something getting underneath of it. Where it's soft shelled like the rocker guard, there'd be less chance of chipping and something getting underneath of it. Some of the stuff that you can get for the underneath the cars and the chassis is so hard that if it chipped and something underneath of it, it seems like it would really make a mess. With the rocker guard, it doesn't seem to do that. Just kind of always a soft textured look, and I don't mind that for the underneath of the car. And you have to remind yourself, that's all been welded up underneath, and when you know when something's welded up underneath, you can see where the welds are and all that sort of stuff. So basically what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to go underneath it and seam seal. Seam seal is, I think it's like just like rock guard, but rock guard sprayable, and seam sealer comes out of a tube, and I will seam seal all the seams underneath the car, and then I will rocker guard it and make it all one texture so it really looks nice. So when the car is like a satin black underneath, because that's what rocker guard is, we'll have a nice shiny chassis that's underneath of it. So we'll have, I just think it'll be a nice contrast. And then the engine we're going to detail again. So if you can picture it, we'll have a nice shiny black on this. We'll have nice chrome shocks, brand new airbags. We'll have brand new calipers and rotors on it. It have a stainless steel steering column in it with a double D shaft stainless steel. It should be quite an attractive chassis. It should be. Also, the underneath of Jolene's car, when I made the car, I did the floor out of square tubing, and I like the square tubing, if you can picture it, the square tubing underneath the car. I can make another floor, a double floor underneath that, and we've been thinking about it, where I can do louvers. We've got louvers against the wall back here. We've moved out and we did underneath the hood of Elvis, but I can do the whole underneath of Jolene's car with louvers because the floor is a square tubing. I've done it before on Cruella de Vil on the underneath of that car. That car is amazing underneath. It has louvers underneath the whole bottom of the car. You can't see anything. We've covered it all up. It's because it's square tubing. You can fit panels on it nice, and basically we can do that too. So we could do the car underneath in rocker guard and then make a panel for the whole underneath of a car. Like the newer cars have panels underneath, and now you can't even see anything. So we can do that with Jolene's car. We could put louvers underneath of it, and we could spray that nice and clean. So it's underneath the car and has nice shiny paint. So you'd have three different colors. You could have body color, the satin black of the inside of the fenders and the rocker panels and that stuff, and then you could have underneath in louvers the color of the paint, hiding the transmission, the drive shaft, all that stuff that runs back through. I could hide all that because we have the body there to accept it. Nothing's round, we've got it all square, so we can hide a lot of stuff, which would make it look good again. You could remember when we bring the exhaust back, we're going to do a stainless steel header on it. I think you can buy a stainless steel header for it. We're going to run stainless steel exhaust all the way back, and then we're going to have to make that muffler that comes out that has the 6 outlets. We don't have to, but we want to. It's Jolene's car, and I want to do it. How's that? So basically, that's what we're doing. We got the chassis primed. It really looks a lot better than it did. It looks 10 times better than it did. And let's take one more walk around it. We've got a few areas on the bottom that we have to fix yet, but we're not there yet. So that's basically what's going on. I'm really liking the front of the the towers of the control arms. They really look nice. They just look a lot better than they did before with the weld all on them. And whatever doesn't look good up there, we will seam seal it and make it look real good. The bars have not been cut off yet. Just haven't cut them off. That can happen anytime for the rear end to go up through. Still have to prime the rear end yet. You know, the rear end has to be primed. Do we fill out the pumpkin on the rear end to make that look nice? How far do you want to do that? Uh-oh. Jolene says she wants to fill out the pumpkin of the rear end. Whoa! Just threw me for a loop. It won't take much, you know. I'm not sure what we'll say. We'll look at it, and we'll go from there because it is pitty. It was pitty. But the rear end is basically quite nice. We got a couple things we have to do, but you can see how it's kind of pitty, and basically just rub a little fill on it and sand it off. You know, that's basically it. That's the top. You would never see the top, but underneath it's probably the same way. We'll put new drums on the back, I'm thinking. If the drums are really, really good, we probably won't. We'll just sandblast them and go with them. But basically what I'm thinking is we'll put all new brakes on the back. It'll all have all new Heim joints on it. So everything really is going to look really, really, really nice. And we're keeping the price down as low as we can. We're trying to, or I am, basically just because that's the game I play. I did not use anything other than filler and feather fill. And that's basically all I use every time. and it works. You don't need anything underneath. You don't need any other products. To me, it's just like an old house. There's a house down here at the road's 120 years old. It's been there 120 years. And that house breathes and has been there, and it's not rotten. They looked after the roof. It's still good. And now, as we progress and come along, we make up new things and new ideas and think it's better and it's better. And then you build a new house and you make it so tight. Then you have to buy a Venmer system so it brings in air and so it don't rot. Well, if we still build them with boards like we used to, they would breathe and it wouldn't rot. So it's basically what I'm saying is old school is my school, and I like to just fill it out and prime it and then paint it. That's basically what I do. I do not try to get into a bunch of different products that confuse things. And them different products are for different applications for different jobs. Yeah. All right, everyone, have a good one. We have a computer? All right, let's get down and give away a hat or a shirt. Let's give away a hat or a shirt. Let's give away a hat or a shirt. Pieces look nice. Yeah, look good. Very smooth, very nice. Did a good job on them. It's slippery today. Me and Jolene went to town this morning, and we seen a car off the road on its roof, and the road was nothing but a glare of ice. We went sideways, almost went in the ditch ourselves, didn't we, baby? A truck was coming at us sideways, and I thought I'd get off the road a little bit, give him a little bit of room, try to get away from him, and we damn near went in the ditch. All right, let's give away a hat or a shirt. $305 comments. I got a 305. We got a 305, don't we, baby? Larry Ray. All right, he wrote a little bit, so stick with me. If you haven't done it already, take a photo each day for the Bugatti album. Jolene, keep in the car. Love watching these and seeing the progress. Keep up the good work to see if you can be as good as Jolene is at hers. That's right, Larry. I always try to keep up with Jolene. You have to have someone to look up to. Basically, if you want to become somebody, what you do is you look at somebody and you try to work off who they are, try to do, just work off who they are, and then when you become that person, or you think you become that person, look on to somebody else, because I look on to people. I have to inspire myself to become better, Let's face it. Gene Winfield was my first person that I looked up to inspire me, and there's been many more. Thanks, Larry Ray. You deserve a hat or a shirt of your choice for writing a nice comment, and Jolene is a damn good person to look up to. Cheers, everybody. Have a good one.